Welcome. So in this demo, I will show you how to insert a sculptural installation into a space. So let's start. So here I want to use my sculpture that I've created entitled Whitewashed Cockfight, and it's a life-size rooster in the midst of fighting. So through Photoshop, I've already documented the actual sculpture suspended. You can document it in your room or whatever access space you have, making sure that you have good lighting, daylight lighting. So I took it from Photoshop. I opened the file, and using the lasso tool here, I am basically just tracing around the sculpture itself. For example, here, the feathers. The paper feathers. I'm just gonna highlight it. To move from one area to one area, it's good to just press the shift button, and you can add more. I'm just fast forwarding this process, so I'm just highlighting every single piece that I want and looking around if I wanted to add other feathers as well. So once I'm happy, right here, I'm gonna click on the layer that I've created earlier. I'm gonna copy the rooster that's from the actual photo. I'm gonna highlight the layer. That's where I wanna paste it. I'm gonna paste the image. And voila, there we go. You can see that the rooster is attached to that area, and right there I just click that box to create another layer. So I'm going to make that background invisible. As you can see, I have just the rooster itself suspended, and this icon here, the eyeballs, makes every layer appear and disappear. It's very easy to kind of navigate through this way, so understanding where your layers are. So now that I have the layers that I want, I will going to merge the two layers, so the two rooster is then implemented into one layer. There we go. So I'm happy with that, with what I'm seeing. So I'm just gonna save this. Again, always save. I'm gonna save it as a Photoshop document, so I have the actual layer. And then I'm gonna open up a background that I want to insert my installation, and I'm gonna use this lobby space. So I'm then going to paste the copied rooster, and right here you can see it. You just see the feathers because the image is a bit large. So I'm just gonna change the scale, transform, change the scale, make it fit to the actual space itself into the lobby. And I wanted to choose this lobby because this lobby has lighting fixtures that kind of reminds me of cages, or bird cages or rooster cages before a cockfight. So I'm just going to change the scale of it, also guiding the light fixture and also the people in the image itself. I want this rooster a bit more to the foreground as well. It's way too far, so I'm gonna enlarge it a bit. So imagining that this rooster is suspended a bit to the foreground of the light fixture and the people in the background. We go, and I'm just gonna guide it along. Here we are. I'm gonna duplicate the layers because I want to have several roosters in this installation in the lobby. So I'm just gonna I created another layer already. So transform, I'm gonna flip horizontal. There we go. So I have two copies, but this time it's flipped to kind of change direction. I'm gonna transform again. This time I'm gonna use there's either rotate or scale. So I'm just going to rotate it, so just to change direction. So I'm kind of instinctively planning how I would want to plan roughly how the rooster would be suspended on the lobby. And this is the Delta lobby in Toronto. So I'm going to change the scale as well, because I want to make these two roosters that are fighting a bit more to the background to create depth as well. And it's what's going to happen is also echoing the light fixture that's already in the lobby. You can see the lights that are further are a bit smaller. This sets of rooster will be a bit further, so I need to make it a bit smaller. There we go, guiding it around the space. So just zooming in, zooming out, checking out how the sculpture is sitting within the space itself, and if I'm happy about the orientation, if it makes sense in relation to the space itself. Okay, once I'm happy, I can even try to change the brightness of the rooster. Let's say if I wanted to kind of pull it out, you can see it's changing. It's turning either lighter or darker. You want to make it as realistic as possible, so it looks like it's actually blending within the space itself, like it belongs there. So again, I want to change the color balance as well, and I wanted to reduplicate the color of the rooster of how it actually looks like in real life, because I'm actually beside my actual sculpture looking at the color and trying to duplicate it in this digital representation as well. There we go. I added just a tiny bit of cooler tones into it. And sometimes all those tiny little changes makes a lot of difference as well in trying to make the actual sculpture feel like it belongs in the space. And you have to also think about, I copied another one here because I wanted to create another step. You also have to think about the lighting in the space. Is it relating with the sculpture, right? So this one, I'm going to leave it a bit darker because it's going to be a bit further and a bit closer to the actual window. And since sunlight is supposed to be radiating from the window, it's okay for these sets of roosters to be a bit darker than the larger roosters in the foreground. There we go. Just changing the scale of that. And then looking at the whole image. If I'm happy, just if I need any rearrangement, looking at the whole room, how it's seated, how it's situation of the actual roosters into the space. I can even adjust the color balance of the background. I'm thinking maybe introducing a little bit of cooler tones to give it a bit more depth in correlation to the sunlight and the rooster itself. I find most photographs tend to be a bit on the yellow side, but then when you're actually in the real actual spaces, it actually has a cooler tone into it. I don't know why that happens. Usually most photographs looks yellow, especially let's say when you're taking a photograph using your cell phone. So now I'm just going to use this dodge tool and burn tool. There's the dodge tool. Oh, that's too big. I'm going to shrink that a bit. Here we go. On the left, just shrink this. And what I want to do is I want to create some highlights on the rooster just to pop them out a bit. So just highlighting this. There we go. So at least the head of the rooster is popping to the foreground. So it's highlighting the actual sculpture. There we go. And I'm making the background disappear and reappear, because it's good in context to kind of look at the actual sculpture as well, alone, without the background. So sometimes I like to play around and pressing the eyeball icon in the layers. Here we go. And once I'm happy, I'm just going to save it. Remember, get into the habit of saving your images. So I'm just going to save it. Delta Toronto Lobby Cockfight, saving it in the highest resolution as possible. It's a good habit to constantly save your images. So looking at it, I'm quite satisfied with it. So I'm going to go to File. I'm going to open. Let's see. Because I want to open another space. I want this installation to really almost take over the lobby all the way to the entrance of the hotel, all the way to the elevator hallway. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to highlight this, and I'm just going to copy the rooster. It's already cut out already. Go back to the image of the elevator, and I'm just going to paste it. Again, rearranging them, situating them. And here, I'm going to sharpen it a bit. I'm going to adjust the brightness because it looks too bright. Looks like it doesn't belong in the space. So I'm just going to darken it so it looks like it actually belongs in the space. And once I'm loosening I'm lowering the brightness, it's good to kind of like lower the contrast as well. Again, just playing around, rearranging it. There we go. And also the color balance. It still looks not part of the background. I'm going to introduce, I'm looking at the wood on the wall, and whatever color that is, obviously it's going to reflect towards your sculpture or your installation. So I'm going to introduce a bit of yellow, which then it reflects towards the wall. And as you can see, by that simple changes, it now almost look as if it's literally suspended in that actual space. I'm going to duplicate this layer again, right there, drag it down, and then I will go to Edit, Transform. Yes, Transform, Flip vertically. So it creates a mirror image of it. There we go. And I'm really looking at the floor and how shiny the floor is and how reflective it is. So instead of creating a shadow of the sculpture, I'm going to create a reflection of the sculpture. So it really pushes the idea of how it belongs there. And as you can see, I even changed it using the opacity. So here, I want to transform it as well, perspective wise, because I want it to kind of really relate to the floor itself. There we go. Just skewing it, locking it into the position, and playing around with the skew. It's really about just trial and error and testing it and see if the perspective looks right. So just readjusting it. Once I'm happy, it's highlighted, I go back to opacity right here, and then I can lower it down because it is only a mere reflection of the sculpture itself that's being reflected to the floor. Another tool and another way to kind of make it feel like it belongs within the space itself. Looks like I think I need to lower it down a bit in context of how it's suspended, because it feels like it's suspended right before the door. And again, I want to change. I'm going to use the filter because I want to actually, no, not the sharpen one. Whoops. I'm looking for the blur. There it is, blur. I want to blur that reflection as well. There we go. So it feels like it it really is a reflection of the actual sculpture. Again, once I'm happy, I'm just going to save it. Delta Toronto elevator hallway. Gonna save that. Yes. JPEG and save. There we go. Saving it in high resolution. And here is the final image of the installation situated in the lobby of the Delta Hotel. And here is another shot of the elevator entrance of the Whitewashed Cockfight installation. Again, with all other installation, it's good to also create a video footage of your sculptural installation to kind of get a sense of the dimensionality of it. So in a lot of my three-dimensional installation pieces, I basically just go around the sculpture 360 to get a feel of the actual piece itself. Thank you for watching. Until next time.